So we have the Viper spawning on the southwest side of his hill, playing against the Muslim spawning in the northeast side on his hill. It is a Chinese mirror matchup, and how will these builds differ from each other? We already see right off the bat, Viper decided, oh, we actually see. So the Muslim went with the typical IO to scout build, and the Viper, he did do the little trick that I do. I showed this on the YouTube video that I made on my Chinese build order. You end up grabbing you end up grabbing the straggler tree and pulling enough for one drop off. Before they do a drop off, you build the mill and they auto drop off there. And we see the Muslim did not end up doing that because he made the IO and scout, which would have made him have to idle his town center with food production if he had not, if he had gone and done that first. So 2 scout opening coming out from either of these people. Right now, Viper does not have his IO yet. It is about to come out. The Muslim house should be finishing here shortly. Ooh, risky business there. If that scout had taken one more step forward and the Vills hadn't been out on the berries, that thing would have been sniped and dead. But now we'll see the IO come out. They will supervise these mills for either player. They will supervise these mills for either player and also pick up the taxes. You'll see this little tax gold that starts to build up in the mill, and that will be once the max that an IO can drop off is 40. So once it hits 40 is really when they want to do the drop off. But already you see a little bit more going on to wood earlier than expected for the Muslim, whereas the Viper is going with a little bit more of the typical balanced early build. So does that mean we expect to see more production? Maybe a second TC trying to drop earlier for the Muslim compared to going with a faster, Song Dynasty or Feudal Age timing potentially for the Viper. The Muslim has a back deer spawn, whereas Viper has a deer spawn that's right next to his berries. He still would end up building an additional mill unless what he can do is get one of his scouts right here on the opposite side and push all of these deer closer to the mill and then just shoot them as they get close to the mill. So would like to see that, but it does take a little bit of extra APM, a little bit of micro, and that's also idling a scout that could be giving you vision, because these are two very this matchup is very big about what your opponent does and reacting to that quickly. Chinese is one of the civilizations that you have so much variance in build order, so many different things you can do with the dynasties, with granaries, villages, pagodas, all these different things. Multiple town centers, Song Dynasty. You can even go with the Borbican if we, will we see a Borbican here on this middle boar securing a relic or sacred site in the long term? Who knows at this point in time. 832 out of Viper, 733 out of the Muslim. So still again, and now Viper is sending more onto the wood now. It does look like, just based off of these builds, we now see that's exactly what I expected. Imperial Academy being dropped. I'd expect the Imperial Academy to be dropped first by both of these people. There we go. Just one villager on it from the Viper. Sending his second on it. And we see just one villager on it in general coming out here from the Muslim. This will delay up his feudal timing, but right now, neither of these people care much about their feudal timing because, like I said, they will both care about booming. So they want as many resources as possible behind this. They don't need the feudal age faster. What they need is more resources to be able to drop Song Dynasty faster and the second TC or potentially third TC faster. We still haven't seen any stone taken yet, but I would assume that it would not be too far around the corner. First village being dropped over there by the Muslim, and the Viper is still, you can see, has dropped houses rather than the village. Scout now coming to do some annoyance on the gold mine. This is what we would always expect here from the scouts. And look at what the Muslim is doing over here for Viper. The exact same thing. Luckily for the Chinese civilization, as we mentioned, there is tax gold that can be picked up, and we already see 80 over here in the mill out of the Viper. So would expect that to have a two full drop-offs that he should be able to do there. Also, this Vil is actually taking some nice damage from double scouts, so he will have to pull this back and replace it. But there we go. Stone has now been taken from the Viper already. And now we see DeMuslim is just now swapping over to the Stone as well. So it looks like DeMuslim is going for a faster Song Dynasty based off his resources in the bank, whereas the Viper is going for a faster second TC. Viper still will be able to hit that Song Dynasty if he wants. Like I said, he has not picked up a lot of this tax gold. He's got 56 in the lumber camp. He's got 107 inside of the mill, and that's just going to keep climbing with both of those economic buildings inside of the Imperial Academy. It provides a double tax drop-off, 100% increase there. And now we see the scouts now are going to annoy the the stone villagers on the side of the Muslim. But look at that. The Muslim dropping a Barbican that is going to protect his berries and his stone. This will allow him to hit Song Dynasty, and it will allow him some safety and not have to deal with this scout annoyance that the Viper is doing. As we mentioned, oh, we actually see an early stone pull off. Oh, no, we don't. What? Oh, he had the supervision there, so they were able to drop off more. I'm crazy. So he pulls off, at the exact amount. He's got the second town center already being dropped. The next step for the Viper is that second TC, or the Song Dynasty, which would be the Barbican. And with him delaying the Barbican, he can actually pull the Barbican, pull Vils out, and try to do a more forward one if he starts to get military presence out on the map. And look at that. With the second TC finishing, he pops the Vils in, he takes down one of the scouts, and just how we mentioned earlier on, scouting and vision is so much of a long-term importance, and now DeMuslim has one less scout for that vision, and if he does any more sort of misstep with this scout, it could end up going down. We already see a bad angle taken from the scout there by the Viper, or else it would have gotten at least one auto attack in, and we see the second one coming through because Viper knows he has this ability. He almost could have taken this scout down, which would have fully denied vision out of DeMuslim. As we see, it is down to 9 health. If that one swing had come in earlier, it potentially would have been dead. But now it will get out of range. It will heal up over time. And it could... oh my gosh, it almost misstepped. Holy crap, down to 3 health. He needs to just pull it back, run all the way back to his Barbican, and make sure this thing does not have any missteps and can stay alive here. If DeMuslim loses that scout, that is so much damage in the long term. That would allow Viper to switch his build in any reasoning of way he wanted. He could go for triple TC after this, but right now, it seems both of these players are sticking to their 2 TC Song Dynasty play, and they're just going to try to buff up their economy and go up to Castle Age after this. You do see DeMuslim has quite a bit of wood floating in the bank, and what is he planning on using that wood for is the big thing. Is he going to drop, is it just there for villages, or is it there for actual military production? Because 623 wood is a significant amount, and those are resources that could be elsewhere, could be into gold or could be into food for a faster Castle Age timing. We see it's 38 villagers from DeMuslim. It is 39 from the Viper. We're starting to see double broad axe specialized picks come through. We see horticulture already has come through, is coming through for DeMuslim. However, he is not getting the specialized picks or double broad axe. So that's where the resources in the bank are going to be a little different. We did say, DeMuslim does have a lot of wood floating, which is going to delay his Castle Age timing. But Viper is delaying his Castle Age timing because he wants to get the long-term economic resource research techs in. You now see he's even going horticulture. So he's gotten every single one of these techs in with the pick, with the double broad axe, and with the horticulture in. And now he will go up and try to skyrocket himself to Castle Age. It will only delay himself a few seconds in the long run, but the horticulture and the specialization with the double broad axe and the pick will give him a lot better economy in the long run if the Muslim doesn't invest resources in it sooner than later. We do see some defensive walls over on the side of the Muslim protecting his hill. And what did I mention earlier in this game? I don't think it's about protecting your hill. Both of these people are going to boom up. It's going to be more about protecting your secondary wood lines. And what does Viper do? He doesn't protect his hill with walls. He protects his secondary wood lines with walls and his whole entire side. So a really, really good job by Viper building proactive walls. This is also going to secure up 2 relics and a sacred site for himself. So that could be longer term gold generation and security as far as relics go, which could get him that foothold forward in the long term. And as I mentioned, the Muslim again, he's only building the clock tower with 1 vil. He wants to focus on his economy behind this and build up more of an economy for when he does hit Castle Age. So even with all those techs being researched, we see Viper decided to fast build his clock tower with 8 vils, so he will end up having a faster Castle Age. Even though the Muslim dropped it a significant amount earlier, the Muslim only dropped it with 1 vil. He is slow building this. He's letting all the other vils continue to do work in the bank, continue to just do their job and gather as much as possible to then now start this Castle Age fight. This is where I think the game will start opening up. Both of these civs have said, hey, we're going to let each other play on our own island. We're each going to just play on our hill. And now it is time to move out from the hills and start to attack each other. The Muslim has actually decided to wall up his own whole hill, and look at what Viper has done. Unbelievable job with these proactive walls, and he has a Lancer out now. This is going to deny vision out of the Muslim. The scout thinks it's going to be able to run out, but he is unfortunately going to be met with walls. And look at that. Scout down to 10 health. It's going to run by the Barbican or the town center on its way out. And there we go. Scout goes down from the Muslim. He is now completely blind. And look at Viper. He has had a nice little secret hidden scout this whole time. And he also has a scout sitting right here in the middle. So he is going to be able to start getting vision on the map. He's got Lancers coming through. He's also building walls in the front of his hill. But remember, his sides are protected because of the forward walls. So a really good job here by the Viper. He has set himself up for some solid positioning. We just heard the first relic go down, and where was it? It was by the Viper, and it was one that was in front of his walls. So this is just adding longer term gold generation. The Muslim needs to get out on the map and get those relics as soon as possible, but we don't even see a monastery yet. And this is going to allow long term gold, free gold generation out of Viper, and him to start skyrocketing his economy. We just heard another relic being picked up, and that was the one in the middle of the map as well. So at this point in time, it looks like this could be a 4-to-1 relic differential now. Viper even says, okay, I'll sacrifice some Lancers. I'll sacrifice this in the long term. He could actually end up healing these up with the monks later on. But as long as this monk gets through the wall, that's all he cares about. And he actually has microed these Lancers back and forth with his scout as well to make it to where he did not lose any of the Lancers or his scout even. Unbelievable job here by the Viper. He has put himself in a great positioning for this game, for this long term. Like I said, the walls, the overall protection, his economy behind this right now, and now we're adding a 3rd relic already. He secured 4, because he is already on the way to the 4th one, and he will go for a sacred site as well. Also, Nest the Bee's already out. I wouldn't be too surprised to see him start to add in archery ranges, whether it be for crossbows or whether it be long-term for hand cannoneers. But he has already started a farming economy behind this, and you see the Muslim has already decided to start switching into that as well. I mentioned this about the Chinese villagers. They're able to just rebuild these walls so fast, and now we see Spearman mass coming out from the Muslim. The thing is, though, is these can be wiped so fast with a couple Nest of Bees, and there's the double archery range drop, just as I expected. He's going with crossbows. I wouldn't even hate to see Juganu with the Spearman mass that you see. Those things would shred through those Juganu so fast. But they are now, the Spearmen are trying to do their best to break down through these walls. And the Scout finally gets spotted out from some spears. So now the Viper Scout is now blind in the base of the Muslim behind the walls. But he does at least have a Scout here in the middle of the map, gaining any of that vision. And ooh, Lancer does end up getting picked by the veteran Spearman out. Let's check the econ. It's 89 and 11 for Viper. It's 96 and 32 for the Muslim. So the Muslim has been able to create a little bit of an econ difference in the long term with his villagers. But as we said, Viper now has 4 relics secured in his monastery now. That is just going to be long-term gold generation. And now we see a nest of bees, just how I mentioned, being able to fire down upon these spearmen. But that will end up going down because the spearmen are able to get on top of that. So a lot of resources that now are going over. It was able to damage quite a bit of the spearmen and lock those down. And now more spearmen just getting fired down by crossbows now that are starting to mass up. And the 5th relic gets secured by Viper, and we hear him at the same time drop his, I'm assuming, Spirited Way. It is the Spirited Way. He's dropping the Spirited Way, going up to Imperial as we speak, and the Muslim is not there. He has the gold in the bank by a significant amount, but he does not have the food built up because he has invested so much into these spearmen. Sacred Site does not go to the side of the Viper, but now Viper has 5 relics that he is about to have in the bank that is just going to be nice, safe, passive gold that is not going to be a resource that is depleted over time. Also, these spearmen are getting delayed by the rebuild and will slowly get picked down by crossbows as well. So just a good job by Viper stalling out this little bit of a mass that the Muslim invested in that caused him to have a later Imperial Age timing. Now we're going to see all these techs, all of this, everything start to come through for both of these players. We got a nice protected keep coming out of the Viper as well. And this is when I thought it was going to open up a little bit more in Castle, but it looks like I was wrong. The game is going to open up in Imperial Age. And now we see proactive stone walls in front of the wooden walls that the Viper built. He knows that if he can secure these left wood lines, that he will be fine in the long term. But look at, this is what I mentioned. This is the point when the wood lines start to get depleted. He's on the back one, and the initial one is about to be done. And so Viper decides to build proactive and start to build stone walls on his right side. But one thing you have to be worried about with this is the chop through. Viper can always come up with a villager and just chop right through a couple of these trees and then come in and raid the whole entire economy. You notice both of the wood lines on the Muslim side are all forward, whereas Viper has his fully behind his stone walls and is going to end up being fully protected here. So really good positioning point for the Viper. But now, we didn't even notice this. The Muslim has 6 Nest of Bees built up. That is a huge and scary mass to deal with that will wipe any sort of mass, especially 7 crossbows. Those will all get one shot by 6 Nest of Bees. And the Bombard then would easily be able to be run down by the Spearmen as well. More Spearmen coming to try to deny these stone walls from going up here on the western side. Monk going to attempt to secure that site. But look at this gold generation here. Just 5 relics in the bank. So much passive gold coming in. Now we do see a couple crossbows here being picked. And the Viper, as we mentioned, he has no idea what the Muslim has behind this. So he could be having a bunch of bombards. He could be having 6 Nest of Bees like he does. But same thing over on the side of the Muslim. He has no idea what the Viper is starting to build up. And as we see, it's hand cannoneers, it's palace guards, and it's crossbows. But Nest of Bees will do great work in wiping all of this if they can get good shots ahead of time. And there we go. Walls have been about to be finished here from the Muslim, securing up the eastern side wood lines. Viper is now securing up the sacred side on the west. This is going to be 600 gold a minute coming in for free that Viper does not have to worry about depleting. That is just going to be long term and have a huge effect there. think about just every single minute, 600 extra gold for the Viper. So, you know, this could easily end up being a long-term game where we see all the gold and all the wood on the map end up getting depleted. Or will it end up being one big fight here where the one mass is able to just correctly take the fight that they needed and just secure a absolutely huge force and take down the opposing army? DeMuslim has the Nest of Bee mass to be able to potentially do that. If those 6 Nest of Bees fire onto this whole entire mass of hand cannoneers, palace guards, and crossbowmen, they will kill it in one shot. We do see 2 bombers actually out as well. Nest of Bees starting to fire, and look at the wooden walls. They just got wiped so fast there by the Nest of Bees, by the bombers. And here we go, Nest of Bees starting to fire. And this is what I was talking about. Look at how much damage these Nest of Bees will start doing to the infantry mass. Absolutely great trades coming in. One Nest of Bee did end up going down, but look at the mass. Viper is just remassing in here very, very fast, and the Muslims is a little slower to come in, but the Nest of Bees just are doing so much work. They're being untouched in the back line, and so are his 2 bombers. So the Muslim takes the exact fight he needed to. He has the army composition he needs to. The big thing is the massive Nest of Bees. This is so hard to deal with. We all know that mangonels had that huge nerf. It's what everyone has been talking about week after week after week. But Nest of Bees did not get nerfed. They are essentially a mangonel, but better. If these things can fire down these villager lines, fire down on top of some of these units that they need to, that is where the army mass, but no! The army mass is getting a little too far in. He's trying to go, oh, bombered pick though. And that's where it went a little further in than I expected, but he was able to get all of the bombers out. That is so much of a siege mass now down. He just needs to make sure his Nest of Bees now do not trade off now. That was the big thing, securing him up these fights. And now we see the Nest of Bees are being fired down upon. DeMuslim needs to pull back in the security of his own keep now, remass up a little bit, and allow these bombers to continue to take over the fight. But actually, we do see the keep has gone down, and the bombers now have taken the mass. I was completely wrong. He does not need to remass up. He needs to keep his foot on the pedal on the metal, continue to keep pushing forward. Take down the Barbican, take down the forward siege workshop, and the siege workshop goes down. It had a bomber inside that was producing. That is so much resources now lost here for the Viper. The Viper has broken out of his base, but like we said, who cares about the walls now when the front of the base now, the military mass has become such a big difference on the side of the Muslim. 4 bombers is so hard to get on top of if he can just continue to mass up hand cannoneers, continue to mass up palace guards, and now he is putting the pressure on the main economy. If he gets down on top of these production buildings, that's less of a mass that Viper continued to build up, and that will be more and more resources that need to be invested in other things other than military. He has to put money into production. He has to put money into other buildings and into all these things such as outposts and things going down, and those are also villagers that are not going to be working, that they are going to be building rather than working. We do now see though bombers are taking a good fight. DeMuslim's bombers ran into the middle of nowhere, and Vipers are being healed up, but they took the healing was not enough for 3 bombers to mass down. But now Imperial Palace Guards are on top of the bombers, and a villager pull by Viper to get on the bombers, and now that is going to be DeMuslim's mass now fully wiped. He needs to remass up and pull back. The economy difference now though, let's check it out here in just a moment. This should have been villagers going down on the side of Viper by a good bit. He still has villagers here on the front line trying to get on top of the bomber, trying to throw their torches, and they do end up taking down the bomber. But at what cost was this for the Viper? He is at 116 economy and 113 military. DeMuslim's at 140 economy and 40 military. He has control of the map. Viper does have those relics working for him, but for how much longer? We know that the Viper is, we know that DeMuslim is on top of his economy. He's actually about to be on top of the clock tower, and this is not where Viper wants to be finding himself. He needs to find some counter raids or something, but he isn't able to do so with the Muslim stone walls. And the Muslim, you can see the trickle in the middle of the map. The Muslim is non-stop producing. He is non-stop sending everything here to the middle, and these bombers are just going to take anything and everything down that they can see. Forward keep now being dropped by the Muslim, and this will allow him to now have that rally point to just mass up and fall back on top of the keep if he needs to. And there is no way that the Viper can stop this mass from coming in. On top of the Spirit Way, and good game goes to the Muslim. The Muslim is able to turn it around. Viper looked like he had a dominant hold of the series. Viper hit Imperial first, but the Muslim was able to take hold of that first fight because of those Nesta B mass. Look at that mass. The whole entire mass, it looked like it was even army numbers. But the big difference was the Muslim had 6 nested bees that absolutely wiped the infantry mass out of the Viper, and it allowed him to get the siege foothold, allowed him to remass and put his foothold forward. He also was able to pick Vills during that time. Not too much, but great long-term run.